Hey guys, Josh from Cardfight Empire here today, and welcome back to my channel. Sorry that it's been a while since I've created one of these FutureFight videos. I actually got a new job last week-ish, and I've been really focused on that. So I actually haven't made any videos because I've been super tired from that. But as you guys seen from the last video, which was my ARG video, I'm going to be doing some videos, just things coming up in the future I'm going to let you guys know about. Going to be doing some things in the future with the card guys, so definitely really excited about that. Be sure to check out their channel. I definitely did put in the description of my last video, so check them out, especially if you like Yu-Gi-Oh! They're a great channel. And then we reached 500 subscribers, guys, so that's like really awesome. Is all thanks to you guys. Couldn't have done it without you. And because of that, I'm going to be having a contest for you guys. I will make a different separate video about that, but we will be having a 500 subscriber contest and / giveaway, so look forward to that. But yeah, welcome back to another FutureFight Vanguard video. We are going to be going back on track from where we were, and we're going to be talking about Nightrose. So we're on the second half of the character booster set now, talking about all the Grand Blue stuff in the set. So I guess it's really awkward with the Nightrose deck, because the whole point of this series is to build a deck from scratch using the new cards to see how the deck would work. And see what we can expect of the deck in the future. But since we're already past that point, and we all know that Nightrose is already top tier, I tried to do something a little different and create like a Nightrose build that's purely made of like new cards from the set with a little bit of old cards, and try to play it to see how things would go. So with that being said, let's get right into the deck. I'm just waiting for the day where everything can be automated in Cardfight area, just like YGO Pro. That would be hashtag the dream. But yeah, alright. So starting off, we're going to have our new Nightrose, which is going to be like our focus of the deck. I know in like the original one, you usually ride the original Nightrose, like OG Nightrose. But this build, we tried to focus on riding the new Grade 3 Nightrose, see how it goes. So it's called Vampire Princess of Starlight Nightrose. It has 2 skills, actually 3 if you count the Hollow ability. So it has the Hollow ability, it has a Generation Break 2 skill that says when another unit is placed on another rearguard circle from your drop zone during your turn, you can Soul Blast one and call a Grade 1 to the same column as this unit. So it's not that useful on Vanguard Circle, but it can be very useful on rearguard circle. And then it has an on-stride skill, which is basically just like original Nightrose's on-stride skill, with a couple differences. So they're both counterblast 1. The old Nightrose just calls a card from your drop zone. The new Nightrose, you can actually choose if you want to mill up to 3 cards. So you can mill 1, 2, or 3 cards from your deck into your drop zone. And then you can choose a card from your drop zone, call it to rear guard, and if that unit has the Hollow ability, it gets plus 3,000 power. So usually, since we're calling out King Serpent, that's not a Hollow ability card, so it wouldn't gain power just like it does from old Nightrose, which is why people like running old Nightrose. But yeah, so speaking of her, we have old Nightrose here, and she has her Generation Break 2 Revival skill. When a card dies, you can mill 3 and bring it back. And then she also has her Stride skill to counterboss 1 and call a card and give it 2,000 power, no matter if it's hollow or not. We have 4 of a new card, Maltreat Shade. So Maltreat Shade is basically, I would say an 11k attacker, but it's really bigger than that sometimes. So it has 2 skills as well. One is when this unit attacks, if you have Nightrose in your Vanguard name, which you, if you're on Grade 3, should always have Nightrose in your name because we only run Nightrose Grade 3s. So if it attacks and you have Nightrose in the name, then this unit gets plus 2,000 power for every single one of your hollowed units until the end of the battle. So assuming that this card is hollow, and let's say you have 4 other units hollow, it gets plus 10,000 power. So it's like a beater. I would call it a new version kind of Negro Rook. And then also its second ability is put this card on the bottom of the deck when it's retired from hollow ability, and then you can countercharge 1. So that helps because counter charges are definitely needed in Nightrose. It can get pretty hectic with counter charges, especially if you're not on OG Nightrose and you can't like do the thing with Grenache to unflip all your counter blasts. It would be pretty nice to end your turn on Maltreat Shades and then put them back and counter charge. So we have 4 Negro Lazy. Basic, I think you guys already know what this does, but just in case you don't, it counterblast 1, soul blast 1. If you have a Nightrose Vanguard, you can end your Generation Break 1. You can choose a grade 2 or less that is not named Negro Lazy, and then call it to your drop zone. And then when this card's put into the drop zone from rear guard, due to a hollow ability, so make sure that you don't get that confused with when this card is hollowed and retired, and when this card is retired by a hollow ability, meaning that this card can only get this second effect if you leave it on the field till the end of the turn and then it retires itself. So if you do that, you get to counter charge 1, soul charge 1. So like I said, really good for replenishing resource, really good for calling your board out, and you know, just regular Grand Blue things. We do run 1 Negro Rook because I didn't want to space something else in here. I mean, technically you could take this out for a second King Serpent if you really prefer, but I wanted another beater in here, so we do have 1 Negro Rook. Also, Negro Rook hits columns easier than Maltreat Shade because sometimes you don't have like a full board of hollow units. We have 2 Skeleton Cannoneer. It is basically your retire card, or is your control, I should say. When it calls from the drop zone, you can choose to hollow it or not to hollow it. And then if it is hollowed from your drop zone, you can counterblast 1. Or sorry, when it's just placed on drop zone or placed on rear guard from your drop zone, you can counterblast 1 and you can retire a unit. And then if that unit got hollowed, you can draw a card. So you pretty much always want to hollow it when you use it just so that you can draw a card and retire one of theirs, which is essentially a +2 if you count it that way. I know some people don't count it that way because they consider it just a +1 for you and a -1 for your opponent, but to me I just consider that a +2 kind of. Moving on, we have King Serpent. King Serpent, when it's called to the rear guard circle from your drop zone, you can soul charge 1 and counter charge 1. So very helpful for replenishing your resources, making your stride skills free, because you definitely have a lot more stuff in this deck that you want to use your counter blast on during your turn. So it sets up for you pretty nicely. Also prepares you well for going into Gauche. So yeah, with the soul. So you have 4 Tommy the Ghosty brothers. The new Stride Fodder looks really good, I think. Yeah, and 4 Stride Fodder, 4 PGs. We did try to use Seawall Banshee in this version. So Seawall Banshee does have hollow, and it's kind of like Erza in my Luar deck, where you can. They seem to be making a lot of PGs that interact with other versions of the same PG to return one to your hand. So when this hollow unit is retired, so basically you can choose to call it to the field from your drop zone, and then when this unit is retired, you can soul blast 1, choose a card from your hand, discard it, and then choose another Seawall Banshee from your drop zone and put it on the bottom of the deck, and then you can return this card to your hand. So basically it allows you to get a PG to your hand while also returning a PG to the deck. So it seems like in this new version there's a lot of cards that just automatically return themselves to the deck so that you don't deck out. So that's good, even though you never technically deck out in Nightrose anyways, if you know what you're doing, I guess. We do run 1 Swordmaster Mimic, just another beater card. Basically, when this card's called from drop zone, you can give it it gains 3,000 power, and then if it's hollowed, you can choose one of your other units, and they get 3,000 power. So this unit becomes 10,000 when it comes out, and then you can give 3,000 to something else, possibly something in the same column, to make it +6. So makes numbers pretty good. We do run 3 Negro Bone. Now, I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but I wanted to try out 3 Negro Bone and 2 Fatal Shade. However, if it's your preference, you can just put 4 Negro Bone and knock out a Fatal Shade, or knock out the Swordmaster Mimic. I just like all of them in there. But yeah, we do run 3 Negro Bone. It is kind of boss 1 at the end of the battle that this unit boosted. If you have a Vanguard with Nightrose in its name, you retire the boosted animal, the boosted unit, and choose a card from your drop zone with the hollow ability and call it to rearguard circle. So it allows you for multi-attacks, and yeah, pretty basic. Fatal Shade, one of the newer cards that I actually ran in my Nightrose build that I won ARG with. Or one of the ARGs that I won that weekend. So if it's hollowed, you can Soul Blast 1 at the end of the turn when it's retired. Yeah, it has to be retired due to the effect of the hollow ability, yeah. So when it's retired due to the effect of hollow or its own ability, you Soul Blast 1 and put this card on the bottom of the deck, and then you can choose anything that's not a grade 1 from your drop zone and call it to rearguard. I think they did that so that it won't be like easy setup for you to get Negro Bone or something like that. Yeah, but you can call Grenache, you can call Negro Lazy and then call a grade 1. There's a lot of good options for you. So we do run standard grade 0 lineup. Grenache as our starter is basically our counter charger unit. Even though we do have a couple units that countercharge now, Maltree Shade and King Serpent, it is our main countercharger, I should say. We have 4 Rampage Shade, 4 Rough Seas Banshee. Basically both are used to build your soul for ghost plays. And then we have 4 Make the Ghosty, since it is not put to 1 in America yet. And we have 4 Crusher Francesca, because we are not in Fighters Collection yet, technically, on my channel. So we use Crusher Francesca because she's cute. Alright, so moving on to the strides. We have 2 Pirate King of Redemption Dragra. So Dragra is really good. They basically just gave Nightrose a board wipe. I don't know why, but they gave Nightrose a board wipe. Don't ask any questions. Basically, the way that it works is you counter boss 2, and you choose the card from your hand, discard it. You choose the same number of cards from your drop zone as the number of rear guards that you have, call them to the rear guard, and for each ability that you call that has the hollow ability, which means you don't have to hollow the unit if you don't want to, it just has to be called and have the hollow ability. So if you for each unit you called with the hollow ability, your opponent chooses one of their rear guards and retires it. So basically you want to look at how many units your opponent has on the board, and you want to call that same amount of units so that you can make them retire all the rear guards. And then if your opponent has no rear guards, you draw a card. So you basically break even from it. We have 4 Negro Songer. So Negro Songer is another new card. Pretty freaking good in my opinion. It's only counterboss 1. It's kind of like the new Nightrose Stride, or a new version of it. Although sometimes I think you prefer Nightrose Stride because you get to call a back row too, while this card only calls 1 card. But what Negro Songer does is at the end of the battle that it attacked, and also Nightrose can call before the attack, so you can stack triggers onto whatever you're calling, but you cannot do that with Negro Songer because it does it after your drive checks. So yeah, so at the end of the battle that this unit attacked, you counterboss 1, flip a Negro Songer, and then you choose a card from your hand and discard it. And then if you do, you get to look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You can put up to 1 into the drop zone, so it helps you mill out your deck. You shuffle your deck, and then you call a card from drop zone, and then it gets plus 5,000 power for every card in your G zone. So it basically makes your rear guard that you call a mini Blizza, which is pretty good. We have 4 ghosts, usually our first stride target in this deck. Unless we don't have a good setup, then our first stride target is Obadiah or Jumbo Dragon. What Ghost does is kind of boss 1, soul boss 1, flip himself, and then you can choose up to however many cards you want from your soul blast them, or sorry, you choose up to 5 cards from your soul, put them into the drop zone, and then you choose the same number of cards from your drop zone as the number of cards put into your drop zone from your soul, and then you call them to rear guard. They get plus 1,000 for every card in the G zone. So it seems like Bushiroad's trying to give Nightrose a bunch of like little mini Blizza skills, which I don't know why, but yeah, too good, too good. We have Mr. King Boo here, winning all the Mario parties. But what King Boo does, his actual name is Ghosty Great King Obadiah, for those of you who need to look it up or something like that. But King Boo, as I call him, whenever he's placed on Vanguard Circle, he can search your deck for up to 3 cards, put them into your drop zone, and then if 2 or more of the cards had the hollow ability that were put into the drop zone, you get to call a normal unit with Ghosty with his card name from the drop zone to rear guard in the same column. So sorry guys, still early morning here. Is really tired, but so yeah, so if two or more of the units were hollow, you get to put a card in the same column as it. Usually the only normal unit that we have in this deck that is a ghosty is going to be our Tommy the Ghosty Brothers. So if you first stride with Tommy the Ghosty Brothers, you get a free booster, basically a free Vanguard booster. We do run 1 Jumbo Dragon. When Jumbo Dragon's placed on Vanguard Circle, you can put up to 4. You can mill up to 4 cards, and then for each normal unit put in the drop zone, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. And then if you put 2 or more triggers into the drop zone, you can choose a card from your drop zone and call it to rear guard. So I think this card's pretty decent. It's decent. It can really depend on the times you go into it, like what's going on and stuff like that, and if it's a good option. We do have 2 Diabolus of Tomes Negro mode. So when this card is placed on Guardian Circle, you can Soul Blast 1. Sorry, I forgot to mention this is new G Guardian for this set. So when this card is placed on Guardian Circle, Soul Blast 1, and then if the number of cards in your drop zone is 5 or more, oh, sorry. Yeah, the number of cards in your drop zone has to be 5 or more for you to pay the cost. Then it gets plus 5,000 shield. Then if you have 10 in the drop zone or more, it gets plus 5,000 more shield. Then if you have 15 or more in the drop zone, it gets plus 5,000 more shield. So ideally, it can be a 41k shield if you need it to be. Then we have Negro Lily. You counter boss 1 and choose one of your rear guards and retire it when you guard with it, and then you can choose a normal unit with Ghosty in its card name and call it to open rear guard circle, aka Tommy the Ghosty Brothers in our version, and then this unit gets plus 10,000 shield. And then we also have Deep Corpse Dragon, who simply mills 2 for 5,000 shield, or 5,000 additional shield when you G-guard into him. So yeah, that was the deck, and then let's get into the matches once our area decides to stop being slow and load back up here. Alright, so loading our replay. So our first match is against Aquaforce. We actually draw a decent hand, and I don't want to put back cards and get triggers. So I just decided to keep. I do ride Swordmaster Mimic, and then it is his go. He chooses to ride Bright Shooter, He attacks my Vanguard, I no guard. He gets a draw trigger, which I always get pretty like sad or something when an Aquaforce player checks like a draw trigger in the other game. Like, it's just really depressing for you because you know that they probably got something good off of it or some kind of attacker, and their turn 2 is probably what usually hurts you the most. But for some reason he just decides to ride and then attack. So we do just guard just so that we can take a little early pressure off ourselves. We do ride the new Nightrose and call Skeleton Cannoneer and Negro Bone. And then we attack with our rear guard first because we run stand triggers. He does take it, and then he takes Vanguard as well. So we do put crit to Vanguard, and we check a PG. So he takes 2 damage. He's playing Diamantes, which is pretty interesting actually. He strides with 2 cards into Artium. That is like the kind of newish blue wave stride. I think its second effect is meh, but its first effect is really good. The one that gives 3k to all blue wave units if they attack. Sorry, I should rephrase that. As the blue wave units themselves attack, they get 3k. So he does attack with his Vanguard first. I no guard, and he checks no triggers, unfortunately for him. So he does attack with his rear guard, and I do intercept with Skeleton Cannoneer because we are Grand Blue, and we want things in our drop zone to be able to call them out. And he attacks with Foivos. I did ask him if he was using the skill because he didn't indicate as such. And then we do take that attack, and then we do take the 4th attack as well. So we draw, and we stride with Tommy the Ghosty Brothers into can't remember what I like opted to go into here. Okay, so we went into Negro Songer here. We do use the new Nightrose skill to mill 3 from our deck. And then we get to call a card. We do call Skeleton Cannoneer because we want to limit the amount of attackers that he has, especially dangerous ones like Foivos. So we do draw a card off of that. So we play Negro Lazy and we counterblast 1 Soul Blast 1, just so that we can get out of Rough Seas Banshee, and we put into Soul just to draw a card. So essentially we break even doing all that, but it is going to allow for us to get some usage out of that in the end phase. So we do attack for 16, our opponent PGs, and we counterblast 1. And retire, and then we call Maltree Shade as hollowed. So again, it's going to allow for us to get some more counter charge off in the late game, or sorry, not the late game, but the end phase. We do attack for 15 because we only have 3 hollow units on the board. So it only gets +6. Then we attack with Negro Songer. I think I kind of miscalculated this, but we do check a stand trigger. And then I attack him again with that, and I guess he didn't want to guard it because he realized that he would have to PG1 and guard the other one with both cards, meaning all the cards in his hand, and then we would just survive his next turn and kill him the turn after that. So, yeah, that was the first game. Let's pull up the second game here. Alright. Here we go. Nightrose game 2. Try to move this one a little faster. So this game we do try to go for original Nightrose, because we realized that new Nightrose wasn't really doing it for us. So we're actually playing an opponent who's playing like a weird deck. I talked to him before I started playing him, and yeah, he said that it was a fine deck. But I guess some people have like different opinions of fine, so it's fine, I guess. But he looks like he's playing like an old school Aichi deck, kind of. Which some people might be disappointed with. I guess it depends on who you are. Some people might enjoy stuff like that. But we do attack him with our rear guard here, and then we happen to have 2 crit triggers, which is OP. So we draw 2 cards, and then we check 2 PGs because we're skilled at this game. He rides Alfred, and then young Pegasus Knight. Man, I haven't seen this card since like Aichi used his Psyqualia in the anime to declare that he was going to win with it, and I thought that that's what this guy was going to do to me. But he does attack with his rear guard, and we just decided to G-guard so that we can mill 2. Unfortunately, the 2 that we milled are a PG and a heal trigger. We do draw a Nightrose though, which is not really useful to us because we already had Strife Fodder in our hand. But we do go into Gauche, and we're able to kind of boss 1, soul boss 1, and mill out 4 so that we can call 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we decide to give Skeleton Cannoneer plus 10k. We do attack him for 23. He is 15 right now, even though it says 23, because he forgot to undo the Alfred skill. So then we attack him for 36. And we check a critical trigger. So we do crit to Vanguard, power to rear, and then we attack the young Pegasus Knight, and he lets it go. In phase hollow ability. We probably should have brought back something, but I guess it doesn't really matter. He does just use Alfred's skill to call a unit, which I thought was weird, but I guess it's the old Wingle boosting Blaster Blade combo. So those of you who weren't in the deck, or those of you who weren't in the game long enough, or you weren't around to know, this deck was actually top tier at a point. Unfortunately, he can't boost with Wingle Brave, so he does check 2 checks. One of them is a crit. He does do crit to Vanguard. Yeah, and here I was asking him where you put the critical. Because these things are important to know, guys, because next thing you know, I take 2 damage, and he's like, I didn't say that I wanted it there. So, We do take 2 damage, vanillas, it's fine. And then we just guard 10k for our last attack. So we stride. Into drag root. So we are using the skill to counter boss 1 and call a Negro Lazy. Then we're using Negro Lazy skill to counter boss Soul Blast, call a Rough Seas, and then draw a card. And then we play Mick from our hand. And then I called another Mick over it. Even though I think in hindsight I should have just called the Micks next to each other instead of doing all this nonsense that I did. But I did counter boss 1, soul boss 1 to pull out a Mick, giving plus 10k to Negro Lilith or Negro Lazy. And then I called out a card. So basically we're just doing really stupid stuff here, and I don't know what was wrong with me at the time of playing this. I think this was actually before I played Nightrose. Like, I actually recorded this like way before, so I actually did this before I did the ARGs, so I was just doing weird stuff to see if I could get away with it. Also, I was really focused on using Mick the Ghosty skill for some reason. So we do make him retire his whole board, and we draw a card. Swordmaster Mimic gets plus 3k and then plus 10k, so that's pretty cool. We attack for 25, and he realizes that he cannot take the rest of the assault, and just proceeds to take his 6 damage. So moving on. Also, while we're loading up the next game, you guys be sure to let me know like types of things that you would like to see. It would definitely be helpful to me to know what you guys would be interested in, so that I can work on getting more videos like that out to you guys. But Nightrose Game 3, we are actually playing against none other than Domination. Didn't someone tell them that you can't dominate Nightrose? Or maybe they can. We don't know. So he starts off the game pretty strong, I think, by playing that grade 1 there. He's using the Japanese style antics, I call them, because they always like to call their starter to the side and attack with a booster or something. So then we just attack Vanguard. He does no guard. Fortunately, he's very bluffed because he is rushing the hell out of us right now. We do guard that just in case something like that happened. We didn't want to take like all the damage and not get any triggers and not be safe. So we do go to 5 damage. And then I do call Rough Seas Banshee to shove into Soul, and then I attack his Vanguard. So we do get a crit, putting the crit all on Vanguard. He rides the new Shiranui and then goes into the Domination card, where the on-shred skill gets 4k and to Grenache, and then makes it attack my Vanguard. But he's also going to use his starter, I think. So I was asking him if he was using the on stride skill, but he was trying to tell me that he thought that the power goes away because he thought he misses the attack, but something about domination is whenever you give power, it stays around to the end of the turn. So if you make a grade 2 that your opponent has really big to try to swing at your opponent, that also kind of hurts you if that grade 2 is good, because you're literally defending it. Like once it becomes undominated after attacking, I've had some times where cards have literally been like, I don't know, 17 or 21, and then they can't even attack into it as they normally would because, yeah, they pumped it up too big. But we're literally living on the edge here. He does check no triggers there, and we are left with 2 cards in our hand. And then we stride. Into gauche. I kind of decided that gauche would be a bad option here, so we do go into Ghosty King Obadiah since we're pretty behind. I put 3 cards into the drop zone. And then I counterboss one with Nightrose skill to bring out Negro Lazy, and then use Negro Lazy to bring out King Serpent. Or sorry, I brought out Negro Bone. That is a smarter choice because we need multiple attacks right now, like really badly. So we do attack for 18. He does block us. We do counterboss 1 and call Negro Lazy back again. Counterboss 1 Soul Blast to call Skeleton Cannoneer and blow that card that calls cards from our drop zone. So basically we're trying to kill him, and if we don't, we're trying to screw him over enough so that he can't do anything the next turn. But we do check a crit and a heal. And he checks a crit and a heal as well. So he's just as blessed, I guess you would call it. But yeah, we do counter charge 1, soul charge 1 because of that Negro Lazy ability. And then he does stride here, but first he's choosing to use the new Shiranui skill, where he calls Negro Rook, and I was really sad, but then I thought about the fact that I get to choose if it's hollow or not because it's being called as my unit. So I chose to not hollow it, of course. And then he strides into this card, Mugen Lordo. So basically, he makes me attack my Vanguard with Domination. I do check a trigger, able to give it to my Vanguard, which will really help a lot in the coming assault on my booty. Yeah, for some reason my opponent is just taking a long time to play. But this has been known to happen on area, which is another reason why I wish everything was automatic, because then you can also put timers for how long people are taking. But he's using Domination to dominate all my rear guards. The Negro Rook is the only thing I technically have to worry about because everything else won't hit me because I'm a 16k. So he does attack me for 26. Sorry, 36. I do G-Guard into the new card. So I soul boss 1 and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 in the soul, so it only gained 10k. And so then I 2 to pass him. He goes all Vanguard and doesn't get the third or the second trigger. And he can't hit my Vanguard with the other column, so we do Stride. Here we opt to go into Negro Songer. So we do counter boss 1 and call King Serpent to the board. And then we're calling Maltreat Shade and hollowing it. So he attacks for 13, or sorry, we attack for 13. Gets 2k. Since there's one hollow unit on the board, we attack for 17 here. He does guard with 2 5ks, and then there's 3 more attacks basically waiting for him. So yeah, basically unless he was like comfortable taking all these attacks, he wouldn't win. But he does take the attack, and we do win it. Manage to win the 3rd game of our matches. So yeah, that has been the Nightrose Future Fight. Like I said in the middle of the matches, be sure to let me know if you guys want to see anything particular, because I'm trying to come up with like a routine schedule right now. But if you guys made it this far in the video, thank you so much for supporting. Thank you guys again for getting me to 500 subscribers. It's amazing. I can't thank you guys enough. But if you guys want to support more, just check out all the stuff in the description down below. And this has been Cardfight Empire, and you guys have a great day.